drug development has stagnated as pharmaceutical companies are focusing on more profitable ventures such as heart disease or diabetes. And antibiotics have then been relegated as the role as the unwanted stepchild, or so it seemed. Teixobactin is the first new high class of antibiotic made in decades. According to the Science News website, in January of 2015, scientists at the University of Bonn in Germany, as well as scientists in collaboration with scientists at the Northeastern University in Boston, announced the discovery of a potential antibiotic that has the potential to work against a broad range of pathogens such as pneumonia, tuberculosis, and other dangerous pathogens without signs of any resistance. To fully understand the radical breakthrough at hand, we must first understand what Teixobactin is and what it does. Then we can look at the pros and cons, and then we can finally conclude with the implications of Teixobactin. So first, what is Teixobactin? And how was it found? About 99% of bacteria won't grow under our current lab techniques, according to Dr. Kim Lewis of Northeastern University in Boston. And because of this, they work with the National Institute of Health and the German government, and therefore they have discovered a remarkable clever new technology called the iChip. Soil is greatly diluted, and using a lattice of tiny walls holding individual bacteria within agar, the iChip is covered with a semi-permeable membrane and is replaced into the original soil. Using this technique, Lewis's team has been able to screen 10,000 bacteria previously unculturable and discover the new bacteria, Teixobactin. Among them is this Teixobactin which I speak of, and it's the most promising one to date. As Forbes put it, Teixobactin is the fish and iChip is the rod. Having the rod guarantees we'll get more fish, and we so desperately need more fish. So this leads to the fact of how does Teixobactin work? So Teixobactin is a promising compound as an antibiotic for several reasons. First, it's a new cell wall inhibitor, which means that it blocks bacteria from being able to synthesize or make new cells. It binds to lipid 2, which is a type of fat, and it's different in action than other glycopeptide drugs, which makes it so promising. Teixobactin shows great activity against some of the most promising gram-positive superbugs that are dealt with regularly, such as MRSA, Enterococci, and C. diff, and has different activity against tuberculosis and B. anthracis. Importantly, the drug is bactericidal versus visa, meaning that it actually kills this resistant bacteria, and which is a major problem in hospitals today. So this leads us to the question of what are the pros and cons of Teixobacteria? So first we'll look at the advantages of Teixobacteria. If Teixobactin works, we will have an important new drug that is armed against gram-positive infections. This is particularly important because a lot of hospital-acquired infections are gram-positive, and this will help with the risk of post-operation complications such as surgery. According to Richard Smith, professor of health systems economics, well, right now, only 2% of patients are undergoing this procedure that undergo surgery develop infections. Estimates are that by 2050, 30 to 40% of patients are going to develop infections, 30% of which could be fatal, and this is due to the increase of resistance against antibiotics. According to Forbes magazine, in mouse studies, Teixobactin showed 100% efficiency against MRSA sepsis and in thigh infections, and it was also very effective against pneumonia in the lungs. The same article stated that there was no toxicity that was seen against the mammal cells that were tested with Teixobactin. There was no hemolytic activity, and it didn't bind to DNA. So researchers are extremely optimistic about the positive outcomes that Teixobactin could have on society as a whole. However, while there are many advantages to Teixobactin, we must realize that there are also disadvantages to Teixobactin. So unfortunately, Teixobactin doesn't have activity against gram-negative cells. Rather, it focuses on the positive gram-staining cells that I stated before, which are often found in hospitals. For example, it doesn't affect carbon-resistant or CRE or NMD drugs, which are a growing problem among hospitals. According to CompoundChem.com, Teixobactin has only been tested on mice, and human studies are yet to begin since approval takes several years. So therefore, we aren't fully aware of the effects that this new antibiotic has on humans. Also, according to the same article, it doesn't work against bacteria with an extra cell membrane around their cell wall, so therefore we're not sure about the effects that it will pose on those in the future. While there are disadvantages, there is nowhere near as many disadvantages as there are advantages, which is why we must look at the implications that teixobactin may have in the future. First, however, getting to the market will be very difficult for teixobactin because there's a very, very long path for drug discovery and mouse trials to go to market. This path often takes 10 years. However, according to Reader's Digest, the company that developed teixobactin, Novabiotic, they're actually hoping to put the drug on the market in Europe and America within the next 5 years. While this is really fast, they're hoping because of the positive implications that the antibiotic could have, they're hoping that it's able to get approved by the governmental organizations quicker than normal. And more importantly, mice are not people, clearly, so we have no idea of what the toxicities might be seen in people. In fact, according to the same article by Reader's Digest, only 8% of compounds that pass the animal testing stage actually make it to market. So therefore, there's only an 8% chance as of right now that this antibiotic will make it to the market. But as I stated, because there's so many advantages of this antibiotic, we may see it come to the market sooner. Furthermore, researchers may be too optimistic about the likelihood of resistance emerging. Right now, teixobactin is such a big deal because it is the first antibiotic in so long that has been developed that has withstood resistance to changing drugs. However, we may see that researchers are being too optimistic about the lack of, about the resistance that this drug has. As we all know, bacteria is smarter than the people who develop them. And therefore, should teixobactin make it to market, it's likely that, like other drugs in the past, it will be overused like the good antibiotics in the past, and therefore resistance may develop rapidly and emerge like as the drug is being overused. So by biting into what teixobactin is and what it is, analyzing the pros and cons, and seeing the implications of teixobactin making it to the market, we can now understand the huge medical breakthrough that teixobactin truly is. Teixobactin has the potential to work against a broad range of fatal infections such as tuberculosis, pneumonia, and other dangerous pathogens without encountering resistance. According to the CDC alone, today roughly 26,000 people fell ill with tuberculosis. Teixobactin is the first antibiotic to be discovered in 30 years, and while we waited for a while, it's clear that it was worth the wait. Thank you.